Hey everybody, and a warm welcome to a new story. Today's story is called She Tried to Stop Me from Saving a Man's Life, from the prorevenge subreddit. I hope you like it and will enjoy the time. If you like my content and this kind of videos, please leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. As always, this story is told from the OP's point of view. Enjoy it. I worked in an emergency room for 6 years, so I am full of stories, but when it comes to petty revenge, this one sticks out in my memory. P equals patient, PD equals patient's daughter, CP equals critical patient, me equals me. Every person who has worked in the knows that Mondays are the busiest days of the week and also when all the crazies come out. This day was no different. I worked as a nurse in triage, where you initially get assessed in the front before going to the back. Here we determine who needs to go back first and who can wait. It's not a first come first serve as most people think. We had a few stretchers in the front for people who needed to be monitored a little closer or needed IVs, blood draws, labs. There were 6 stretchers, but this day was so busy all 6 stretchers were filled plus 5 more in the hallway. This lady comes in on an ambulance, but because her symptoms did not indicate an emergency, she was put in stretcher triage to wait her turn. She was in a lot of pain. After assessment, I recognized her symptoms as being caused from gallstones, painful but not life-threatening. We put her on a stretcher, started an IV, drew labs, and hooked her up to the monitor just in case. A few minutes later, PD comes in the front door. One look at her and we knew she would cause problems. She had everything from the shoes to the haircut. A classic rich Karen. When she saw that her mom was still in the front and hadn't seen a doctor yet, she started screaming that she knew the CEO of the hospital and that we would all be fired if we didn't get her mom back to see a doctor right now. We explained that her mom has a history of gallstones, and even P was saying that she has had this pain many times because of the gallstones. We explained about being really busy and that there were no rooms available in the back and we'll get her back as soon as we could. She eventually calmed down but was still antsy. About an hour later, another patient, CP, comes in and was put in the stretcher beside P and PD. This patient had worrying complaints, but on initial assessment we could not find anything wrong. Now, as a nurse, you learn to always trust your gut. When your gut sounds an alarm, you listen. Something about this patient was setting my alarm bells off, but all his vitals were normal and I had no solid evidence to declare him an emergency. I hooked him up to the monitor and kept a very close eye on him. I let the charge nurse know of my concerns and she said to let her know as soon as something changes. Not 5 minutes later, something changed. Now, at this time I should explain that this hospital was a level 1 trauma center. Meaning we get all the bad cases from car crashes to gunshot victims. We were in the middle of gang territory. Since we had to be ready for any traumas, life-threatening injuries, we had a room with 3 beds. That was closed off from the rest of the beds because traumas usually involved a lot of people and a lot of blood. Even on busy days like this one, those rooms were empty unless there was a trauma patient. Now, back to CP. I was taking vital signs of P when I looked over to CP. I noticed a worrying change in his rhythm and stopped with P to start assessing CP to see what was going on. That did not sit well with PD. She actually grabbed my arm and told me to finish with her mom. I jerked my arm free and said I had to make sure CP was okay. As I turned around to see P, his rhythm went into VV, life-threatening rhythm. I called the charge nurse to inform her of CP condition, all the while unhooking CP from the monitor and throwing his bed into drive. As I started pushing him back, PD actually jumps in front of the stretcher and stops it. She's screaming that her mom was here first and needed to be seen before CP, and screaming that I was a liar and that she was going to get me fired. I'm usually a mild-tempered person, but knowing CP was literally minutes from dying, and I said to PD, "You have a choice, get out of my way or get run over," as I started pushing the stretcher forward. Now, I'm really good at pushing stretchers fast and getting the patients where they needed to go in a hurry, one of the reasons I was part of the trauma team. PD tried to stand firm, but she saw I wasn't going to stop and jumped out of the way just as I was an inch from hitting her. Unfortunately, she did not move fast enough and I ended up running over her foot. At this point I didn't care and got the patient back to the trauma room, leaving PD screaming, lying on the floor. We spent about 30 minutes on CP, but he ended up dying. By the time I got back up front, P and PD had been taken to the back to see a doctor, but my charge nurse warned me that they were filing a complaint against me. A few days later, the actual CEO of the hospital came to visit me on my next shift. He was known to be a kind and fair man. Since this happened during a time before cameras were put in the ERs, he had to take what happened from word of mouth. Apparently, PD said I assaulted her several times and put her mom's life in danger by not assessing her properly, and that I should be fired. Turned out that P did actually have gallstones and nothing else. Also, PD's foot was broken due to me running over it. I calmly explained exactly what happened and that PD's actions might have ended up in CP dying because of the delay she caused by her actions. When I got to the part of what I said to PD and running over her foot, the CEO actually started laughing and then tried to cover his mouth to hide his laughter. He explained that PD was a friend of his sister and he knows what kind of person she is. Not only did I not get fired, he put a personal note in my file praising my actions. On my next review I got a large raise plus a bonus thanks to the CEO's note. What do you think about this story? Tell me your thought in the comments. If you liked the story and the content, please leave a like, subscribe and share this video. Also have a look into my playlist for more entertaining stories.